right. Excuse me 1 minute, I'll be right back. All right. All right.
Emily, you're good to go.
Okay, and I am ready to start. I always love to be respectful of people and their time and your ability to be here. So grateful that you're here this morning. So welcome. We will officially begin our this is June 4th. Human Relations Commission meeting. So again, I want to officially welcome our brand new members. Melanie Van Dyne and Tyler Thompson. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I do want to give you a few minutes. If you wouldn't mind, you can introduce yourselves and let us know a little bit about you, or, you know, maybe even what motivated you and your desire to be joining us. Any of that would be welcome. We'd love to hear from you. So, and I'll let you guys decide who wants to go first.
Yeah, who wants to go first?
You go ahead, Tyler.
Okay. Hello, I'm Tyler Thompson. I am a sophomore currently at Bowling Green High School. I was notified of the commission through my English teacher, and he said that it would be an awesome opportunity to join. I didn't know too much about it. I had honestly no idea. I had no idea about it, but now I do. And so I am really glad to be here. Also, I do running, so I run cross country and track. The boys we went to states last season, which was really fun to do. I enjoy reading, writing, staying with current events, especially. That's a bit about me, but I'm here to understand more of what the commission does so I can get a clearer picture of my role and other people's role, and meeting new people in the community is always cool. So.
Very good. Thank you, Tyler. I would, again, welcome you and just mention to you that I think that you're joining, both you and Melanie joining our the trustee, becoming a trustee, not a trustee, I'm sorry, a member of the commission, is perfect timing, because we actually are evolving in many ways and making some changes to our structure. So we are open and welcome to ideas and perspectives that are new to us. And we're all going to be learning all together right along with the rest of us. So thank you so much for that. Thanks, Tyler. Melanie.
And nice to meet you, Tyler.
Nice to meet you too, Melanie.
Thank you. I'm Melanie Van Dyne, and I'm quite the opposite of Tyler. I am by no means a sophomore in high school. I'm at the far end of that, and I would never run unless a bear were chasing me. So I don't do either of those things. So I have been in Bowling Green since 1983, at which point I was hired at the Children's Resource Center, and that is where I'm still at. So I've been there a few years. I'm the director of operations there, and currently they enter a shared position, a co-director, a co-executive director, interim director. So human relations is a very interesting. Oh, let me back up a little bit. I have two kids. I have to tell you, I have two kids. One is 19 and one is 25. So, you know, they went through all of the Bowling Green's systems, the schools and the activities and all of those things. I don't know much about the Human Relations Commission. I've read the minutes and I apologize that I missed the last meeting. I have a prior commitment already scheduled. But I'm anxious to learn more about it, and I'm hopeful to continue to improve the BG community and continue to make it as safe as possible for everyone. And I assume that's what a big piece of what you folks are all about. So.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely correct. Thank you, Melanie.
Yeah.
So glad to have you as well.
Thank
Thank you so much. And welcome, Justin. So I'm counting here real quickly. We have a quorum. So the next thing we want to do is be able to approve our minutes from the May 21st meeting. So can I have a motion to approve those minutes? Justin?
I move.
Okay, and second? All right, thanks, Amy. And then all in favor, say aye, or show me your hand, either way.
Do I abstain? Because I don't know. I'm just.
Well, I think you are officially a member. You can abstain if you
No,
want, but
no, I just wasn't at the meeting, so.
yeah, it's okay. And so if that's your choice, that's absolutely
No,
okay.
no.
Okay, all right, and all opposed, same sign. All right, so the minutes, the pass, so thank you for that. And then, of course, each of our meetings, we have an opportunity to hear from Matt Snow, who is the City of BG Housing Specialist, and he provides an update for us on, so we can learn the conditions and the circumstances as far as available housing here in Bowling Green and the status of housing in Bowling Green. So go ahead, Matt.
All right. Yeah, I can just give you a brief overview of what I do, just since there's some new members here. Like Emily had mentioned, I'm the housing specialist, and I also serve as the fair housing officer as it relates to the CDBG entitlement grant that we received. I've been with the city for 6 years now, and prior to that, I worked for a planning agency that covered the 5-county corner of Ohio, and we administered similar programming that we do here. Like I had mentioned, our main funding source here is CDBG entitlement, and our goal as me as a guest here at HRC is to share any fair housing concerns that we have with the group. And then also periodically ask for input from the group when we're preparing different reports, including like fair housing analysis of impediments we do every 5 years. As for last month, no fair housing concerns in general. We did have a complaint on lease discrepancy, so landlord tenant issues, and typically we can handle them, especially if they're students, because we can refer them to student legal services so they can get specific legal advice. Otherwise, we can just provide general information about the landlord tenant laws. And here in our office, just real quick, we administer several different grants, one of them being home repair grants that can help income eligible individuals get roof replacements, electrical upgrades, any kind of emergency repairs in their home. We do down payment assistance program to help individuals purchase homes here in Bowling Green. We do a housing rehab program that brings the entire home up to code. And like I had mentioned, fair housing education outreach program. We do a lot of advertising and presentations. Actually, Wood County Committee on Aging is opening back up their presentations here soon, and I'll be one of the first people to get back into their new building and do fair housing presentation as well. So if you have any questions, that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Matt. I was grateful for that, sharing your responsibilities. I think it's important that we review those and are aware of those. You have a really important role. Yeah, so thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
And now we'll have our financial report from Joe Fawcett, who is the Assistant Municipal Administrator.
There's no change from the previous meeting. Your year-to-date expenses are $119.80, which leaves you $1,480.20.
Thank you, Joe. And now we'll hear the mayor's report from Mayor Mike Aspak.
Morning, everybody. I have no report other than to say welcome to Tyler and Melanie. Very much appreciate you agreeing to serve on the commission and look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hey, Emily.
Yes.
Both the mayor and I are going to have to leave a little bit early this morning. I'm going to
Okay.
transfer the hosting to you, if that's okay.
Okay. All right.
All you have to do is just X out of everything, okay?
Okie doke. All right. Thank you, Joe. All right. So, and as you know, Ellie is have got an amazing milestone in her life this week, and I think, or next weekend. But anyway, today she's at graduation practice, so couldn't be here today. But she did provide a chair's report that she asked me to share, and she wanted to remind everybody about the Juneteenth celebration that's being hosted by Brave, and that will be held on June 19th at the Worcester Green from 2 to 9 p.m., 2 to 10 p.m. And she is encouraging all of us to attend as well. I know they are selling t-shirts now that are part of their fundraising efforts, and I think they're quite attractive. They did a really nice job, I think, and so those are available to purchase on their Facebook page. I think they have other using other social media to sell those, but I encourage you to check those out, and we'll all be wearing the same shirts on that day. That'll be pretty cool. So that's Ellie's report. The next report that we hear each meeting is the Not in Our Town BG report. We had our meeting, we always meet on the first Thursday of every month, which of course yesterday was our meeting. And I think the major takeaway for us is just a reminder for me personally is how grateful I am for the aesthetics of that meeting, and the setup has always been about creating a safe place for people to come and express and share concerns, as well as coming for, creating understanding and learning, and also the sharing part is really, really important. It's valuable. It's how we tap into our empathy and our compassion for all of us as humans, and that aesthetic was on display in great quantities yesterday. So I was very grateful for that. That's what I always want to be able to achieve at our meetings. So we talked about the anti-discrimination ordinance that's being considered by City Council. We talked about, we spent a lot of time talking about that. So that was, and maybe Anna has something she wants to add, or William might have something he'd like to add when he comes and shares. We also talked about the Tulsa Massacre. I know for myself personally was sharing that, I never learned that as an adult white member of our society, and who attended public schools. I never had the opportunity to learn about that. And I had recently listened to a webinar on NPR, and I went through a whole flush of emotion that was sadness and anger, because I was never taught that, and I never really learned about it until I think recently. And then for me, it evolved into this resolve that I am recommitted to making sure that we get these stories out, that we're continuing to talk about them and share them, that this is the experience of people of color and Black Americans. Anyway, so I'm trying to recreate that. It was pretty emotional for me personally. And then I think that was it. And I'm going to say this again, you guys might want to select a different person to be the representative from HRC to give the Not in Our Town report, because I'm always going to give you a really long report. You guys might prefer something a little shorter. So anyway, that's my report. All right, so we'll move along to the Facebook page report and Ellie has been in charge of that. I think this is an area that we want, that social media and website probably going to evolve into a committee responsibility for sure, so that we can spread these responsibilities out. But Ellie didn't have anything to report, and she is encouraging everybody again, if you have anything you'd like to see posted on our Facebook page, please send that to Ellie. So moving along now to old business, we have been working on the mission and vision statements. And I just want to check in with Anna to see if she has any updates for us there. And again, just to remind everybody, Steve Nape and Anna Brown had agreed to do some groundwork for us, and with the understanding that they would bring that back to us and we would flush it out as a whole group. So Anna, go ahead.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm sorry. I apologize. Steve and I have not yet had a chance to meet. I know we both have some individual ideas, but I don't want to put one forward or the other forward without our having a chance to compare notes and bring something that's a little bit more indicative of both of our ideas. So
yeah, and I respect that, Anna, and thank you so much. This is, it's a monumental task. I mean, when I say monumental, it takes a lot of power, brain power, and thought and energy and foresight into creating your mission and your vision. So I think we're okay with taking our time and moving slowly with it, because we want to do it well and we want to do it right. So we'll just continue with that, probably become one of our more focus areas for sure. And then we'll move along now to new business. And so I know Ellie shared with you, I think you had a chance to look at the agenda, and she has been promoting a chart that has identified several different committees. And so again, the thought is that each one of us, being respectful of what we can do as a commission and the sunshine laws, and recognizing that our meetings are public and public knowledge, and so that decisions have to be made in our public forum. But we recognize the value of we've got a lot of really strong people on our commission who have knowledge and insights, and that we could divide our responsibilities up, and that you can choose a topic or an area that you feel really strongly about. One or two people could work together, communicate through email, share ideas, not with the idea that you're not making decisions, but you're, maybe more in a brainstorming session, that you bring that back to our meeting as a whole. So that way we can be more efficient with the quality of the people that we have on our commission, and some work can get done beyond our general meeting time, but yet again, all the decisions would be made in our general meeting time. So that's kind of a little explanation behind this chart. So I can see on the chart here that there are areas that Ellie has identified: collecting and reporting. This is an area that we've been talking about for many months, recognizing that we want to create a safe way for people to report any instances or incidences of discrimination or something that they may experience that is meaningful to them, but they might not necessarily feel it's something monumental to that they would report it to the police department. Amy, do you want to talk more about that? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know this was originally an idea that you had that was that we've been considering. Do you want to address that?
Sure. I'm not sure how much detail I can really give you. It kind of morphed from me looking at multiple human relations commissions from different cities, just kind of getting a feel for, how do other areas approach what they're doing. And that's what I was seeing on a few websites was it seemed like they were pretty active in having a little bit more of a role. And so it was kind of that go-between, right? So it could be an instance where they're not reporting it, like you said, to the police, but it could be one where they have, and I don't know, I guess I kind of see us as that that middle ground to be kind of the advocate. And, we may work with the city on that in different respects, police departments, or not, right? So I'm not sure where to go with that. I think it's multi-layered.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that would be nice to, really promote that we have this commission and here's what we can do, right, for anybody in the city. So
Yeah.
was that helpful or just
Yes.
rambling?
And you're absolutely right, the layers. No, it was really helpful. And I also want to, for Justin and our BGPD, this is not to take anything away from, there is an opportunity on the website to report incidents, and it's anonymous, and then they follow up on that. Where this came about is that we have learned here within our commission members, as well as not in our town meetings, and La Conexión reported that incidents of discrimination and possibly hate are occurring in Bowling Green, but they go unreported or underreported. And so then the question becomes why? And we will never understand the problem until we know what is the extent of the problem. And then once we understand the extent of the problem, we can really identify where do we put our energy to make it better. So rather than just becoming vague, we know people aren't reporting, we can have some data, some real time data in a safe way. So I know Anna shared with us also earlier on what Bgsu has done to help increase the likelihood of people reporting. And she might want to mention, and talk about what Bgsu has done. We looked at a couple of different forms the Bgsu Police Department uses, as well as her department, division of, sorry, drawing a blank now. But anyway, go ahead, Anna.
Yes, so campus-wide, we have what is called the See It Here Report It form. And a lot of times people view that form as a form for Title IX violations or student misconduct violations, student conduct violations, but it's more than that. We can report students of concern if there's a professor that sees that they have a student who's consistently falling asleep in class, or a student has perpetual absences from their class. They can report that, and that can be investigated through different arms of the institution. So it's not necessarily one thing or another. We are able to report racial bias crimes. We're able to report any sort of hate crimes against the LGBTQ plus community, against any marginalized community on campus. Again, it's just, if we have students of concern, regardless of their background, we can fill out this form and say, hey, I'm a little worried about this student. Is there a way we can follow up? And a form like that, where it isn't necessarily housed with the BG police, might be beneficial, because a lot of times marginalized communities, rightly or wrongly, have a perception or a fear of interacting with police based upon their backgrounds. And so if we start it in a different spot and then funnel it through to the right folks in the police department or in the different aspects of city government, that might be a better way to get people to actually start reporting, so that we can actually address some of these issues.
Thank you, Anna. So that's that little department. That committee. It's a little right now. It's not. It's still in its idea form. Nothing's been done there. But if that's an area that you feel like you'd like to work on, that's an area where we need to establish a committee. And then moving into the next column, we have the events planning, and key events that HRC has planned in the past is the MLK celebration, always, and the Drum Major Awards, and the honor roll is an area we identify somebody who's doing well and doing some really positive work in Bowling Green, and then give them that recognition. That's an area that we haven't done anything with, at least that I'm aware of, in the last year. And I would really like to see that reinstated and get some oomph behind it, because there's a lot of people doing some really good things in Bowling Green, and that needs to be recognized. So that's kind of a, as we see it, we recognize it, kind of, that's the honor roll. And then, of course, the Drum Major Award is something that we give annually at the MLK celebration. So we need a committee who would be willing to work on that. We've had some other events that we were looking at planning, and that was maybe possibly a lunch and learn where we pick a specific topic and people come together and have a conversation, or panelists or specialists, somebody who specializes in that specific topic. And then also we talked about having a community movie. We could increase awareness by providing some resources, maybe a movie that presents some information and then a conversation afterwards. So those are some ideas we've had about events. And then current events is another area that Ellie has here. She's probably going to be able to give you a little bit more clarification on her thoughts about setting up this chart. I'm kind of paraphrasing things that she shared with me. And this was a topic that we talked about at our last meeting. So an example of a current event is a group that was recently established. I'm saying recently, it became, I'm not sure exactly when it was established, but there have been information meetings around the 1776 report, which was a commission that the previous presidential administration published in response to the 1619 project. And so the result is some information, what's accurate, and how do we create a situation where people are learning the actual accurate information and not a perception or opinions, or a piece of information is editorialized. So we want to increase awareness. So that was another thought that we've had that we haven't done anything with, but something to think about if you want to be on a committee like that. All right. So there we go. I don't know how well I'm explaining all this. And Ellie would like you to let her know which committee you'd like to be on. Are there any questions? Thoughts, suggestions? Is there another committee that you think would be beneficial for us that we've not considered? Maybe in your experiences on different groups that we can suggest that we also establish. Everybody's very quiet.
I'll say something. With what Anna was saying about like a form to address like incidences of like racial bias and some other like hard-hitting topics, I feel like there's not a opportunity for that at the high school. There isn't any type of like, it's kind of like you tell a teacher and it goes up, but most of the time from what I've seen, nothing comes out of it. There have been some recent cases that haven't really been talked about or spread, of kids using certain slurs and other things that aren't appropriate in school at all, but they're not like punished for it, I guess, or there aren't consequences that come out of it. And I think a big part of that is people are afraid to speak on it, and they're afraid to talk about it. Even the other day, I have a friend who mentioned, oh, these two kids in our class were being disruptive and were saying some very inappropriate stuff, but she was afraid to go to the administration because she was afraid that nothing was going to happen out of it. And our friend group was saying, you need to like say something. She's like, I don't know. But I think that what Anna was saying with some sort of form and some like hierarchy with it would be great, not only at BGSU, but also within the high school.
Thank you.
Justin, would there be a way to create a hyperlink or to include the hyperlink to the form? Because I know that the form that we have for BGPD, it's all encompassing, right? So it's not necessarily about criminal activity, correct?
Oh, and Justin, can you
You're muted.
mute it, Justin?
There we go. You think I'd figure this out by now? We have like a web contact to where you can talk about anything. We have a survey on there, or you can file any type of complaint or report, or you can just on Facebook just send us anything. I mean, people send us stuff about everything that you could imagine. So yeah, you can go on there and put that. Now, when it comes to the school, Tyler, I know there's certain restrictions and different things when we're involving juveniles and stuff. So that would be something that maybe you could go to the board and ask them what your options are. Maybe things are happening, but they're just you're not told about it because of privacy concerns. I'm not sure as how the school's set up with that. But I mean, it sounds like it's something that you would want to explore. So
That's what I'm thinking is maybe instead of creating an entirely new form and creating an entirely new process, if we start including the link that goes through to the form that is already existing, but including it on different pages in different spaces, maybe formatting it as a hyperlink in a different way so that, sometimes how you have the text links that says, click here to find out more, and then it goes to the form. That might be a better way to get people to report more, to ease some of the anxiety if the form is included in spaces beyond the BG Police page.
yeah, makes sense.
I just want to ask Tyler a question too, as I was listening to you and sharing, you're sharing some really important feelings, and also recognizing that it's probably you and many other students. So it's not unique to you or your friend, but lots of students feeling that way and wondering how we can support you. I think Justin's suggestion that, if you explore it at the high school and through the school district is a good one, but also want you to know that we will support you. And maybe that's something you want to do a little research on and report back to us and see what can we do, if it is, helping and supporting through the school district, that's really important. I mean, it helps to create that positive aesthetic in a high school, in any school setting, actually, elementary, middle school, high school, so that students can feel safe and feel comfortable and welcomed, and that learning is not impeded in any way. I think that's our goal. That would be the goal of a school.
Yeah, I agree with Emily, because sometimes the students do not want to report to the teachers or inside, because something might come back in a kind of unexpected way. So it's completely different place like a city, just one thing's above level of just the school district, they might feel more comfortable, so they're not anonymous, so that inside the school is somehow that always there will be the leak about who told whom, and teachers and stuff like that. So just come to even the parents, that if the parents have some kind of know that it's like a children have some kind of a problem, but didn't want to go to the school, because then something might come back to to the children. So it's certainly great to keep the city's level is wonderful, so that's why that's very important to have the place for us to have the place for anybody to go in, right.
Is Officer Robin, or is there still a safety officer at all of the schools? And And I've just known her as my kids grew up through the school system. And I understand that that may not feel like a safe place for students to go either, although we as adults think police, that's where you go, you know, but to report something to the safety officer, are there, I don't know what the perception of the high school students would be of the safety officer. And is there an opportunity to, you know, she comes in uniform, which is great because I think especially in certain situations that's necessary. And for youngers, I think that's a good thing that they see folks in uniform. But is there an opportunity for someone who is more, I can't think of the word, but more casual, more approachable as the high school students, or for the high school students rather than, you know, even if she changed out into blue jeans and a t-shirt in the afternoon, I don't know, but you know, someone
I think I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because there's not that uniform and that formality, and you know, the kid approaches her when everybody's around and everybody's, you know, talking about it. I can say that we're fortunate with Robin. Robin can relate to just about everybody. She knows all the kids' names. She is not in each school, obviously, all the time. She's one person, but she does rotate around throughout the day through the schools. Obviously, with COVID here, we had changed that up a bit, but once this fall comes, things will be back to normal.
Sure.
As far as her being in like civilian clothes and stuff, Robin attends lots of different events throughout the evenings. She goes to band stuff. She goes to, she coaches sports. So she is really active in the community.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that people have come up to her. I know students talk to her all the time and confide in her. So I think that that is available now. I think that she does a good job with that. I know that at the PD, if any of our officers get a case involving a student or even a child within our community, the first person we ask is Robin. Do you know this child? What's kind of the background? What's their family status? You know, to try to get some context. And a lot of times Robin will end up taking those investigations over just because she's familiar with the student, and she has different avenues, more so to like sit down and mediate something or something like that, as opposed to having to go necessarily through the court system.
Good.
So, and a lot of that's just her personal relationships
Yeah.
with everyone within the school and in that environment. So I think we have that now. I still think though there's going to be some people that even with that avenue and with going, you know, like Kiko said, going to the teacher or whatever, they may still not want to do that. And younger students a lot of times, and just a generational thing. I have 4 kids, trust me, I know. They'll be texting each other back and forth in the house, which drives me nuts. But that avenue of the social media is definitely a good one. And we have noticed that even our surveys and people putting stuff on Facebook has increased over the years for people filing complaints and or just wanting advice or information related to the police department.
Good.
So that's kind of a long-winded answer. But yeah, I think we have those avenues in place now. Now, if somebody has ideas how we can tweak them, we're all ears for that. But I think the social media aspect helps.
Yeah. Just clone Robin.
Yeah, she's amazing. I mean, she remembers names, their parents, their siblings' names.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't remember all that shit.
Recently, excuse me, sorry.
Sorry, if I can just jump in. So we're kind of talking about, you know, the school system and what's already in place, and you know, like what Tyler was talking about with, you know, even with all of that in place, there's still going to be a reluctance, right, on the part of many students because of whatever perceptions they have of what's happening or not happening. And so I'm just trying to figure out what is HRC's role in this, right? I mean, because the schools themselves have already set all of this up. And so can we have any role is the first question. But it goes back to what Anna was saying with this way of a little bit different way of reporting. Could that be something? And I'm just throwing an idea. I have not thought this through, so bear with me. But like when we're talking about like a lunch and learn situation, so could it be something where HRC approaches the schools, talks to them, kind of explains what this form is and what this allows students to be able to do at the university, and how it could be beneficial for at the high school, middle school, right? So that they maybe adopt an extra layer to that practice. And maybe I thought of the lunch and learn, maybe HRC then can kind of be involved somehow in giving maybe a presentation to the schools, to the students, so that when that form is in place, the students know about it.
Right.
And they don't have to go through the usual channels. If they're not comfortable, they know where they can go outside of that. Is this making any sense at all?
I think it does, Amy. I think though we need to look at what's in place though now.
Sure.
And the reason I say that is if a student goes to a counselor, so to speak, are there protections for their privacy related to that, to where that would be a good avenue if they want to remain anonymous? But you got to think we are a public committee. So if we have a form that they fill out, that could be susceptible to public records law and have to be released, to where if they go through an avenue that's maybe already there with the counselor, then that can be kept private. And I think sometimes that and we all know this from our own business and entities that we're involved in, there's a process that's already set, but maybe it hasn't been communicated where people really don't know what that process is. So that I would just caution on that. Maybe that would be a better avenue if they're trying to protect their privacy. And again, the form, I would assume, and it would have to be researched, but I would assume that would be open to public review if we had a complaint form, because we are obviously a public entity.
Right. That's really good.
And
that's a really good
Councilman
point.
Harold, you might be able to elaborate on that a little more. I'm sure you're pretty familiar with public records law, but I think that might be a concern.
That is a good point, Justin.
Yeah.
So I just have a question. You talk about the Robin, that the Robin is very approachable, so that when, she hears a kind of a lot of, things in detail, and then what did she do with that?
It depends upon what obviously is told to her, but she has different avenues. She can go to the principal, go to the superintendent, go to the board, or if it's a police matter, if it's a criminal matter, then she still would communicate to them, but she's not going to divulge any specific facts or anything that would be determined to be evidentiary, of evidentiary value, or it's investigative materials. She would not disclose those.
Mm-hmm.
So those are kind of her different avenues. And I know a lot of times she'll just go and stop by after school, she'll stop by the house and have a talk with both the kid, the student and the parents, because a lot of times, and we all know this, if we have kids, that the parents don't necessarily know what's going on. So she usually does that. She always tries to take the best option. And a lot of times that is not involving formal channels to, especially with the courts. With juveniles, we always try to take that option to kick it back to the family if we can, because usually that's where you're going to get your best results. And a lot of times it's a communication thing, because kids don't always tell their parents what's going on. So those are kind of her different options, I guess.
Justin, I'm just curious, do you have a sense, if you consider the kinds of complaints, I guess we'll call them for lack of a better word, that are submitted on the BGPD website, do you have a sense of what do you feel like in terms of numbers, what rises to the level of it's substantial enough that BGPD need to get involved, and then others that are not quite that, to that level. And then what happens with those? I mean, can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. A lot of times what we're going to be looking for is if it's criminal in nature, if it has the potential to be criminal in nature. If it doesn't, a lot of times we'll find that out by asking a few more questions, inquiring about a few more specifics. If it does not rise to that level of being criminal, usually we try to facilitate, like we would get them to NAMI, let's say if it's a mental health related concern, Unison, Harbor, or we will, CRC if a parent, because we do have that. Sometimes parents having trouble with their child, or JFS. So if it's something of criminal nature or it could be close to that, we're going to look into it. A lot of times if it is involving a child, we're going to give a JFS anyway, because we will do the investigation jointly. If not, then we'll try to facilitate and get them to where, to somewhere where they can help them. And sometimes we do have people too that just like, some people that just like to constantly send us stuff because of maybe some mental health problems or anything like that. So I tend to answer a lot of our social media stuff. So they just need reassurance that everything's okay. So, but yeah, we do. It's more prevalent now than what it was even 5 years ago. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of I do appreciate that. Made me think of some more, quite honestly. And maybe this isn't the moment, but maybe at a future meeting, you might, if you're able, without revealing any confidential information, you could share with us. What are the numbers typically, average, how many of these kinds of reports are submitted each month, and kind of break them down for us so we get a sense already about what is being reported. And also the other part of that, it kind of goes back to Amy was describing our original conversations. Some of this really may not be we need to acknowledge the work and the role of our police department and what they do, and how important they are to creating a safe community. And so, as you mentioned, some of these may not really be what we want our BG Police Department to be spending their time on, which was another, role that maybe a middle body or like HRC could take on, and that, if it really truly is a criminal thing, we're going to direct it immediately to the police department. But that might be our role if we see something is not criminal, and we are not experts, but we are going to help support this person who has submitted this report or this, instance, and then direct it to who could help based on the circumstances.
I think you're exactly right there. And one of the biggest things is mental illness. When I started 20 years ago, we dealt with mental illness, but not like we do today. It's every day. I mean, we're dealing with this. Now, all of our officers have gone through crisis intervention training. We have 7 officers that are actual hostage crisis negotiators. I used to be one. We trained through the FBI. And, but us trying to de-escalate a situation, that's good, but that doesn't always, unfortunately, the outcome isn't always what we want. Now, we have a nice system here in Wood County. We have Unison. We partner with NAMI. Our officers are trained through NAMI. But to have those options, because really putting them in jail, all you're doing is kicking the can down the road. That's not solving anything. And really, that's our last, that's our last choice that we really want to do, because we know that once they get out of jail, their problem hasn't been solved on the mental health issue. So we're going to be dealing with them again, and somebody could get hurt. So, so having those different options, and I really believe that in Wood County, we have a lot of good options. We have a lot of good support services that we work well with, and they help us greatly. So I completely agree with you on that. And a lot of times, the problem, and you can probably attest to this, is when we have that both they're on the mentally challenged and they're getting services through MRDD, and then we have the mental health side, because then we get into a gray area to where it starts to be one of these, and then we get left in the middle of, what are we going to do? How are we going to make sure this person is going to be safe? And sometimes that's results in us putting them in jail just because we know they're not going to be able to harm themselves or somebody else.
Yeah.
So, and those are things that we've worked through over the years, but there are gaps like that.
Yeah.
Where I think,
And
go
I
ahead.
would tell you, and I didn't get the chance to say this at a previous meeting, but our investigative reporters, when we do have a person who receives services through the Wood County Board of DD, and does, maybe it involves police, the police are participating in a certain incident or something. We sing the praises of the BGPD. You guys do an amazing job, and we're very grateful for communication. And the relationships that we've developed with your department have really grown over the years, and we're grateful for that. But you're right. A lot of times it's about increasing awareness and helping people have strategies and skills working with a person with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So that anxiety, for example, we all have that. And some of us have really heightened levels of anxiety. So if I see a person in a uniform, ooh, that shoots me off the scale right away, Anyway, I'm just sharing with you. So thank you for what you do. We're grateful for your work and working with us.
Thanks.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes down to training. I mean, with MRDD, we've done training on autism, on how to deal with individuals with autism, which is challenging. I mean, if you dealt with individuals or have somebody in your family that has autism, but they're right. Some of these things, police we should not be the primary entity involved. We should be a support entity. I'm all for that. And that's really, I think, what we have set up now with mental illness is that we secure the scene, then Unison will contact Unison. They bring in mental health experts that can screen the person and determine whether they need to go to a hospital or, get further treatment. And then we just step back and become into a secondary role. And let me tell you, that's where we should be on those types of situations, unless they turn violent. And then we have to, of course, make sure everyone's safe. But.
Do you, I mean, again, I really was serious. I was asked you to consider, if you wouldn't mind, in a future meeting, maybe you could share with us how those reports kind of break down, again, without revealing any confidential information.
Yeah, I mean,
I think this is the first start. But go ahead, Akiko.
Just I'm interested in a little bit more concrete, what type of situation it is, and then especially I know what's happening in more like a university, but certainly right now I'm just very interested in high schools, youth, very important people, there. And I just wondered, Tyler, do you have the bullying things going on or not?
So can you say that again? I didn't hear you the first time. Sorry.
Bullying? What do you call bullying? Do they have it at high school or?
From what I've seen personally, I have not seen any cases of bullying because then I feel like I would step in. It's very hard to say that and to then actually do it, but I do believe I would step in. But I do not, from what I have seen, bullying as a whole has gone down quite a bit, which is an amazing thing. And I think it's just how our society and stuff has progressed throughout the years of that bullying is less accepted than it was, I don't know, 5-10 years ago. But there's definitely bullying that probably still goes on, that goes unseen, especially from students. If students aren't in the loop, then they probably won't see it. So I would never say that there is no bullying, but from what I've seen, the bullying as a whole is definitely lower than it has.
And if bullying gets to our level, a lot of times we don't get too many of them at all to investigate. But usually we get with Robin again, refer back to the school because we want to get a context. We're involving young persons here, so we want to get their families involved. And bullying, we usually see, if we do get anything, it's cyber.
Yeah.
it's online, that keyboard courage. And then a lot of times once we address it with them and their family, it alleviates the problem.
Oh, that's great because there's quite a lot in Japan, so that's a problem. Sometimes, bringing a lot of tragedy. So
Yeah.
I'm interested in that age, that, we like the children to be in kind of peaceful and, great school life. So I'm very much interested in that part.
Yeah. All right. So this has been a really fascinating and wonderful conversation, and I appreciate it and grateful. We'll revisit it. I'm certain in our future meetings. But I also want to be mindful of the time and recognizing that everybody's already got a big, things that they need to do and places to go. So I'm going to ask us to move along now to our announcements. Anybody have any announcements? Anything they want to share?
Oh, I have a question, that Ellie sent us the survey, right? Like a yes or no. And then
Yeah.
the very bottom one, which days you're not available. If I click one, the other one disappears. Only one, but I'm pretty sure that some people are having a multiple ones are not available. So maybe form should be changed.
Okay.
It's not a yes, no. So the bottom one is, she has a lot of dates there, right? So when you click one, and only you can choose one, not right now.
Okay. Anybody else can give, I haven't opened it yet. I admit, I'm so sorry about that. But does anybody have having a similar?
Yeah, she just has to go in and change it from radial dot to multiple selection.
Oh, yeah.
Whoever the form administrator is. It's like literally one click on their end to fix it.
I send it, but I could just only check one.
Yeah.
And then I had another one too.
Kiko, would you be willing to just reply to her email and let her know? Just put in your
Yeah, I will do that. Sure.
that suggestion. I think that sounds like a simple fix.
Yeah,
So,
it should be.
all right. All righty. And now lobby visitation. So William?
Seeing as how it's 8:58, I have only 20 minutes of lobby visitation. No, I'm kidding. I appreciate the chance to speak, but I don't think I can do anything in 1 minute. Maybe say hi. But thank you. Thank you. I don't have it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And that's evidence. My response is evidence that, yeah, I can't do anything in just a couple seconds.
All right, well, let's save it for next time, maybe. We'll be assembling again on June 18th. And again, to encourage each of you to give some thought about which committee you want to be on and let Ellie know. And then also we'll get a chance to, the conversation was about our summer meetings. We have typically not had meetings in summer, but we've got quite a few projects that we are trying to move forward. So we at least informally agreed that we would meet, but also want to be mindful of people having vacations planned and when you cannot meet. So even if we, so that's the importance of filling out that survey so she knows when she can schedule and when to not schedule. Okay, we want to be sure we have a quorum for sure. All right, I need a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion.
All righty, and a second.
I'll second.
Okay, doke. Thank you, Melanie. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful Friday.
Thanks, Sue.
We'll be back together on June 18th unless we hear otherwise, okay?
Okay, sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Okay, thank you. Have a good week.
Thanks. Bye now.
Bye.
Oh, I've got controls.
Emily, I've had the chance to see you twice in 2
I
days.
know, it was only not even 12 hours ago, right?
Yeah, so one of the good parts about the first week of the month is I get to see Emily twice.
Oh, well, you're too kind. It works both ways. I really admire your dedication and participation in attending too.
Oh, well, thank you. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
If you got a minute, what are the pictures in the back?
Oh, okay. Well, I am at work and I'm sitting in a conference room
Oh, okay.
where these are actually former students who attended Wood Lane School. I will say they are kind of outdated. These students have been graduated for a long time, and but they're nice, and so
That's really well, from what I can see, it's very
yeah.
well done.
And we've got actually we've got more.
Oh,
We have each year for several years we were doing what we called the photography project with Bgsu students. And so the photos that you see on this end of the room, although they're all in black and white, they were taken by members, persons who are receiving services here who participated in the project. They learned how to use the camera.
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a wonderful project. Then we had a gallery set up and we had a show, and it's amazing.
Yeah, those are really well done.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
really appreciate great artistic, but not overwhelmingly artistic, if you know what I mean. Photography and
Yeah, well, they learned all the concepts of, good photography and, setting and, focus and all those things. And they even, what's the word I want? And they went into the dark room and they do that?
they developed it
They
too.
learned all of that, developing.
wow.
Mhm.
Well, the number one rule of photography to make sure your picture is good is don't include Bill Harold in it.
Oh,
I don't know if they teach that, but anyway, those are very nice. Thank you for showing.
yeah, I appreciate that you asked. Thank you so much.
Next time there's like a gallery or a presentation of the photos, you should announce that. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure you do, but even in the HRC and not in our town meetings,
Yeah.
it reflects well on the work that you all do.
Oh, well, thank you. I will do that. And here, part of our challenge has been the professor at Bgsu who did this project with us has retired. And so we're trying to find another person who might be able to take it on.
If they could do that in retirement.
Yeah, I think she's moved though, actually, even. So we're kind of at a situation where we're starting, from ground zero. So.
Well, something worth keeping going.
Yeah, we love it. And
profitable for everybody.
All right.
Sell some of them. Do you sell the portraits when you have the presentation?
We have not sold them. But we found, homes for them. We gave them away.
Oh, okay.
The owners, the actual, the people who created the photos either donated them or kept them or gave them away or. I'm not sure if I don't believe we've ever sold them.
There'd be buyers.
Yeah, I agree. I think there would be.
All right. Well, I probably shouldn't take even more of your time. But it's been great seeing you the last 2 days. And
yes, thank you.
Was it the 16th or whenever the next?
Our next scheduled meeting for HRC is June 18th. Yeah. All right, Bill, have a wonderful weekend.